Welcome to the On the Rise podcast, where we talk about time freedom, passive investing through real estate, finance, and mindset. Let's dive in. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I am not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. All right, welcome back to the show, On the Rise listeners. Thank you again for joining another episode. Looking forward to having a conversation today with Jack Bosch. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for my listening audience that's wondering if Jack is related to the Bosch company that manufactures power tools and equipments and spark plugs, he's not related to that family. However, he was born and raised not too far away from their headquarters in Germany. Am I saying that right?
That is correct. Yes, Southern Germany. They're in the Stuttgart area, and I'm an hour and a half south of there is where I was born and raised. And my dad actually did even ancestry research, and not with the purpose of finding a tie to the Bosch family there, but in that process, he found out that we still don't have anything to do with them. Otherwise, I might be here, this multi-billionaire. But anyway, so no, that's just a little fun fact.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Jack has quite the background here. So, from what I understand, Jack, you moved from Germany to the United States with a couple of suitcases, a nearly empty bank account. You had a big dream, and you grew that into a multi-million-dollar land business, which is truly an American success story. Since then, you've also successfully invested in a lot of different, real estate investment projects. You flipped thousands of land parcels. You're an investor in, a multifamily rental portfolio, all kinds of different things. So maybe you can, I'm probably not doing your bio much justice here. So maybe you can let us know a little bit more, about kind of your journey, your background, in your own words.
No, that was great. That's great. It basically summarizes it quickly. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Germany. Went to high school there, went to college there. Then decided in my last year of college to go on an exchange program to the United States to finish up where I would get credit in Germany. So it was kind of like get an American degree and finish my German degree both in one time, one year without actually prolonging my college time. It's like, sounds good. Learning better English. Great. Had a job lined up in Germany, had an apartment in Germany, had everything lined up. 3 weeks into it, this young lady walks by, and I was like, "Oh, hello, who are you?" And met her, got to know her. Now we're married 25 years, and so she is an immigrant herself from Honduras, Central America. So we both decided to stay in the country that we both fell in love with, and we decided to stay and make a life here together. And got jobs, got the work permit. After a year in college, you get a work permit. Then you go I got this famous H-1B visa that's in the news these days. Then through that, got my green card. But somewhere along the way, I realized that this being as a job, as an employee, as a slave of some company wasn't what I was made to be, wasn't what I wanted to be. So we started looking around, and through a lot of trial and error, we stumbled into real estate. And within real estate, we stumbled into this little known method we coined the term land flipping, which is really land wholesaling, land seller financing, land assigning, land splitting, land development. I mean, you can take it into any direction, but the core structure is very simply, we find people that there's something like 160 million pieces of land in the U.S. 60% of them are in private ownership, so it's about 90 something million pieces of land. And at any given time, like a few percent, 2, 3, 4, 5% of them are people that just don't want those pieces of land anymore. Well, we figured out a method how to find them, how to get in front of them, how to make them an offer. And because it's land, they don't have any use for it. They don't know what to do with it. It just sucks money out of their pocket in property taxes. They're often way more motivated than house flippers, than house owners. And they're giving those properties to us for 20, 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar. And then we turn around, we do absolutely nothing to that. We just mark them up to 60, 70% of the market price. We become really good at marketing them. We become really good at finding the best realtors and hiring the best realtors to sell them. and we just play in land arbitrage. Basically, we get them cheap, sell them cheap, and just take a $50,000 piece of land in the outskirts of town, get it on the contract for 12, mark it up to 30, sell it, and after closing costs and realtor commission, we end up making $15,000. And we do that again and again and again and again. And since then, we have done thousands of deals, built a eight-figure the land business out of that. And for the last 16 years or 15 years, we've also been teaching this now and have created hundreds of millionaires with that same strategy.
Yeah, that's great, Jack. And there's no doubt that you've had a tremendous amount of success in this space. But I'd like to maybe kind of go back to the beginning, a little bit before we kind of unpack what you're, more focused on today. You immigrated to the United States from Germany. I have talked to countless people that currently live in the United States today. They immigrated here. They're not working for someone else. Okay. They're entrepreneurs. They scratch the entrepreneurial itch. They want to be independent. They want to basically, I don't know, take a risk on themselves, right? Because they're confident in their ability, to, really grow something from nothing. So what type of maybe mindset or habits would you say are the most critical to those that are looking to, enter into the land of small business ownership?
I think as an immigrant, you almost have like a hidden advantage because you kind of like left everything behind. It's like even yeah, you left everything behind. You left your language behind. You left your culture behind, and you're coming into a new world. And in that new world, everything is so different. Now I look like the average American, right? I look like normal, but like everyone else does here. But habits and culture is very different between Germany and the United States. So it's very much, and these differences you notice. So the hidden advantage is almost like that you walk around and you have that old picture in mind of how things work in Europe, and you see how things work here, and you see gaps. You see things that Americans don't necessarily see anymore because you grew up with it, you grew up used to it already. Everything is normal to you, but it's not normal to me. It's not normal that there's people who don't pay property taxes in Germany. And it's not normal that the county can actually take a property away from you if you don't pay property taxes. It's not normal because in Europe that doesn't happen. They put liens on it, and eventually, when you die or something like that, they get paid off or something. Or if you want to sell the property needs to be paid off. But nobody takes your property away from you. Nobody is like it's opportunity everywhere. I walk through the United States every day, even 28 years after living here. I see opportunity everywhere, and I think that's one of the things that's if you like one of the things is get out of your comfort zone in a way that if you're growing up in small Americana and it's everything comfortable, you'll never see those things. You got to move away. You got to move away, and it's almost like a new start. You can actually build that new persona and so on. So with that said, the actual criteria behind it or the actual characteristics of success is try things. You have plenty of time to try things. We dabbled with a bunch of different things, but then once you find one thing that works, blinders on, head down, and become an animal of just like making it happen. So the moment we realize that there's pieces of land that people don't want and they're willing to give them up for nothing almost. The first deal we got for $400 and we sold it to the neighbor for $4,000 2 days later. We're like, is this even real? And then 2 weeks later, we got a 40-acre parcel in the middle of nowhere for $500 and sold it on eBay for $10,000. And we're like, this is insanity. But it kept working and it kept working. And then we're just like, okay, let's not ask questions. Let's just keep doing this. And we just like ignored everything else. We didn't touch houses. We didn't touch commercial. We just put the blinders on and just did more and more and more and more and more. And I think that's a lot of people come across something, it works, but then they get distracted. And so the key, I think, is like have a vision. And again, from an immigration point of view, we made some core decisions if we're alive. And one of the core decisions was that in spite of being 6,000 miles away from my family and 2,000 miles from Michelle's family, we would not give up our ties to our families. Well, if you make that as a core decision of your life, there's like, I will not give up on the relationship with my brother, with my parents, with my uncles, with my cousins. That means that you got to figure out a way to make enough money and have enough time to go travel to Europe once a year. And not just for 3 days, but for 6 weeks. Or if there's a wedding, make it a point. And we have done that. So for the last 28 years, with the exception of COVID, we have been in every single year in Germany, and sometimes 3 times a year in Germany. And my parents next year are coming over here. I'm flying them over business class. I'm renting a house for them because my daughter graduates from high school. And there's some charity events that we're participating, and it's like and it's important to me. And as a result, if you have a big enough why, the how will show up. And a lot of people, if your family lives 3 blocks away, there's not much urgency to do anything. You just kind of like work through life the same way that you always have. But if you put yourself in a position to be far away from your loved ones in a completely different environment, you start seeing opportunity. You start realizing that you need to do things differently. And I think that's what happens to a lot of immigrants. And the solution is to be your own boss.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I mean, I kind of think about, just needing to have a little bit of, tenacity. You have a vision. You have, maybe you're not afraid to fail. I think a lot of times, especially here in America, people grow up with this kind of perception that failure equals bad. But actually, what you're saying is it's exactly opposite of that. Failure equals good so long as we're failing forward.
Correct. I mean, to be true, everyone is afraid of failing. I mean, I'm afraid of failing every day. I'm like, I don't want to. Nobody wants to fail, but it is part of it. It's part of iterations. It's like Silicon Valley talks about iterate quickly. Basically, do something, test it. If it fails, switch gears, do it again, do something different, test it. If it fails, and if you start adopting that mindset, then there is no failure anymore because it's just tests that you do. It's tries, it's attempts, and every time you learn, okay, this part worked, but this part didn't work. So let's do more of this and less of that, and you just keep going. But you don't look at it as failure anymore. You look at it as iterations towards a more successful outcome.
I'm Zach Haptonstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
So I've got a background in wholesaling and fixing and flipping single family homes. So for listeners that are new to the space of, land flipping, how does that fundamentally differ from traditional real estate models like fixing and flipping or the BRRRR strategy?
So it's fundamentally different that in the fact that it's that you don't touch the property, you don't even see the property, you never go to the property, you never sit in the kitchen with a seller, you never sit on a closing table with a buyer. You do everything virtually from home, and it's mostly related to. It's actually kind of the same as house wholesaling, except for no tenants, no toilets, no termites, no repairs, no estimates, no boots on the ground. Nobody needs to estimate anything, and you basically do it all from home. And that's number one. The second thing is that the price point is different. Usually, the price point that we're dealing with is properties worth between $20,000 and perhaps $500,000, with a true sweet spot between like 20 grand and about 150 grand. That's like where most of the deals happening. So it's a lower price point. The process that you do is different. We do direct mail, we do cold calling, we do texting, but then we don't buy land in 7 days. We actually give ourselves 120 to 180 days to buy the land, because there's very little competition. So that's another big thing. Huge difference in competition. There's probably 100x more competition in houses than there's in land. Is there a little competition in land? Of course. That, of course, I mean, I've been teaching it for 15 years. I created my own competition. But at the same time, the competition level that we have created is still ridiculously low compared to houses. So the process is different in the point of view that it's all designed around your lifestyle. In essence, that on an hour a day, you can do a deal a month. So an hour a day is basically you identify some properties that you could make offers to, or properties that you can contact the owners of. You send them a direct mail, cold call, or text. They respond back. Then you do a little analysis. Then you make an offer to them. You follow up on the offers. But if you look at that, the analysis you do on a computer at night at home, or in your lunchtime, or in the weekend. The offer you send out by mail. We send out literally mail offers. It takes 3-4 days to arrive then. The likelihood that in that same time somebody else slides in and makes an offer on that piece of land is close to zero. Then that seller, we give him 2 weeks to accept the offer. 7 to 10 days, actually. We give them 10 days, a week to accept. So after including, we send it out on a Monday, they receive it on a Thursday, they got until the next week, Thursday, to accept it. So we give, from the official date we send it out, it's 10 days, but once they receive it, it's usually like 7 to 8 days, which is, again, completely different. There's no like, let's sit down, let's use psychological angles to convince them to sign the contract right there and then. No, we just send them a friendly offer, and they sign it, put it in the mail, send it back to us, and all of a sudden we open the mail, there's an accepted agreement. Or they send it back by email. And then sometimes we renegotiate over the phone. They might call you, or if they don't accept it, you follow up and you initiate a phone call, and then you have a nice conversation, and perhaps you do a telephone negotiation. You email them the contract, they sign it, and they send it back in. Our contract is a one-page contract, nothing complicated. Everyone can read it. So it just all happens like in your spare time, in the evenings. Nothing has to be done at 5 p.m., at 3 p.m. So as a result, when my daughter goes and has some presentation somewhere, I can always go there. If my daughter has a free period and wants to meet for brunch or lunch, I can just go pick her up when we have brunch together. If we as a family want to take a 6-week vacation, we take a 6-week vacation. And last year we were in Paris, and we sat in the hotel bar of a Grand Hilton something at 10 o'clock at night with our laptops and making some offers on some deals. And so it's very much a slow, steady deal flow business that you get deals. And then once you have the deal under contract, we simply do absolutely nothing to them. We find just the best realtor in the area to put it on the market, market it quickly, and sell that thing in 30 days and make 5, 10, 15, 20, or even just one of our students just recently did $156,000 on a land deal. And she lives in Germany. Did the deal in the United States, made $156,000 without ever even stepping foot into the United States.
That's remarkable and such a great story. And it kind of, sounds to me like it's definitely a numbers game, and you've got to put in the reps and put in the activity. When we were looking for off-market deals to buy in the single family fix and flip space, we were really primarily targeting, homes that maybe the lawns have not been cut, all summer long. And maybe there were literal, maple trees growing out of the gutters, type of a thing. Right. So when it comes to land flipping, what are some of the key data points or signals, that you look for when identifying profitable parcels to acquire?
So we typically look for 3 kind of properties. One is infill lots, so lots in the street, in the city, 35 houses, 1 empty lot that's ready to be built in. When you don't even have to get a big discount on that, because if that lot is worth 100 grand, if you can get it for 80, which is an easy purchase, because I mean most sellers are like, yeah, sure, it's just a $20,000 discount, I'm still getting it. You get it for 80, you sell it to the builder that is building down the road, the spec home. You sell it to that builder for 100 2 days later, and you make a 20 grand profit. Second kind of property is in the outskirts of town, meaning like in the path of growth. And the third kind of property is larger recreational, more like mini ranches. There's a huge demand since COVID. There's RV sales are off the chart. There's not enough RV parks. People have RVs everywhere, and they're affluent people with $100,000 RVs, and they want to park their RVs somewhere. So now they're buying land and putting their RVs out there and joining it, and so on. Now the key thing though is, the very most important thing is that we want to buy land or go after land where it's already selling. So one of the most important things is that we don't just go into like the middle of nowhere and pick up some piece of land and then struggle selling it. We're going, the very first thing we do is we look at on Zillow, on Redfin, on homes.com, we look at for markets where already a ton of land is selling, because it's so much easier to sell somebody something they want than have to sell them what you got, whether they want it or not. And so that's one of the approaches first. So we go look at for the hot markets where there is lots of property selling already. Then we go in there and we identify properties in that market, ideally that the owners have held for either 10 years plus, or if we have access to the data, which we do through one of our systems, we can even look for the deed type. So if somebody has a quitclaim deed, or if somebody has a judgment deed from a court, it's mostly is either like transferred from parents to kids, and the kids don't want the land. The kids just want money. Or the parents have passed away and they've inherited the land. So if it's a probate, it's a judgment, right? Based on the probate judgment, the ownership gets transferred from the deceased parents to the child. Well, the child is 50 years old, lives in New York City. The property is in I don't know, in Texas. I'm in Arizona, and the buyer might be moving from Florida. So this is how this virtually happens, that the seller will never going to go to Texas to check out that land. They inherited it. They want to liquidate that as fast as possible, and half price sounds just perfectly fine for them. So we're looking at either like inherited properties or properties that have been owned for 10 years plus. We like out-of-state owners. We also like properties where the owners haven't paid property taxes, because that's like them waving the white flag already and saying like, hey, I actually don't have the money to pay for this, or I don't care about this property anymore. I don't even want this thing anymore. And yeah, they're waving the flag, and the success rate on tax delinquent properties is even higher, because again, they're basically telling you already that they don't want that thing. So once we get them, again, in hot areas where there's a high demand, we get them at half price, usually about 20 to 60 cents on the dollar, depending on price range. And then all we do is we then go, if it's a hot market, we find the top number one land realtor in that market, and we give them that land, and they go sell it in a matter of sometimes days, sometimes a few weeks, and at still a discounted price, but much higher than we have. So $100,000 property, we put on a contract for 50, we mark it up to 70. The realtor sells it for 70. The realtor gets $5,000 commission. We make $15,000 on the deal. Everyone is happy. And that can happen very, very fast. And if it's sold for 70, if it's listed for 70 and every other property on the market is listed at 100, guess which one's going to sell fast? So it's very, very simple. It's a very simple concept. Going to hot markets, find cool properties that the owners no longer want, like long-time absentee owners. Doesn't matter if they have stuff growing on it. They have tree grows going on. It's land, right? But the key is that it's a market where already people are buying, because it's so much easier to sell people what they already have, what they want.
That makes total sense, Jack. So as we kind of wrap up here, what advice would you give to somebody listening today that's got a W-2 job that wants to start building passive income through land investing? What might be the first thing they should do to get started?
One easy way to get started is, well, you got to figure out how to value the land. The land, like we offer courses and things, all of that. But there is like once you, and it's actually very simple to value land. We got some tools for that. But one thing you can do is you can go and identify, do a Google search and figure out on Google the 50 fastest growing real estate markets in the United States. Go to market 12, not the top 5, because they're so fast growing that it's too fast, too hot, the market. Go to like market 10, 11, 12, 15, something like that. Go pull up that market on Zillow, see how many properties are listed there, and then actually go look for listings that are 6 months or older, and contact those realtors and see if their realtors are willing to take a half price offer. And you'll be shocked what's happened. You'll be actually starting to talk. You find listings that are like a year, 2 years old, and you can just, it costs you nothing. Costs you nothing. You can go and play with that a little bit and just go out and contact some realtors and say like, hey, you see properties listed for $55,000. It's been on the market for a year and a half. You think that this seller might be willing to take a lower offer? And the realtor is probably going to say yes. And it's like, well, I know you might not accept my offer, but how about I offer you $30,000 or $27,000 for this property? Could you present this offer and see what happens? And then you have the proof. Then you know that realtor accepts that offer, and now you just need to learn the other side and how to sell it. I mean, we don't have enough time to go through this right now, but we even teach that for free in some of our challenges that we do.
Well, speaking of that, and by the way, just so you know, I've really appreciated this conversation, and thank you for the tremendous value that you've brought our listening audience. What might be one or two different ways that we can connect with you offline to learn more about what you're up to and about your program?
Sure, absolutely. You can go to the simplest ways. We have a 30-day blueprint. It's like a very detailed document that shows you how to set up their land business over 30 days. And that 30-day blueprint you can get at landprofitfun.com. F-U-N, landprofitfun, like having fun, like landprofitfun.com. And the other one is you can go to landflippingclass.com, and you'll see whenever, depending on when you go there and when you watch this, we every once in a while we put up some multi-day kind of challenges where we teach you for free how to do this entire process, and give you actually homework and actually things. And we're running one right now this week, for example. And on day 2 of the challenge, there's already people that are talking to realtors. There's already people that are talking to sellers, and they're following our 100% free steps, and already starting to probably by tomorrow have deals under contract already. And so that is under landflippingclass.com. And then, of course, I have my own podcast, The Jack Bosch Show. On YouTube, you can go to Jack Bosch. It's like the Sparkplugs, B-O-S-C-H, Jack Bosch. And there's a 6-part video series that you can watch on how this all works. So there's plenty of different ways that you can find out about how we do here.
Well, thank you, Jack. And we'll definitely put those links in the show notes for the episode. And again, really appreciate the tremendous value that you brought us today.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And On the Rise podcast listeners, thank you again for jumping into yet another episode. We look forward to having you join us on the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the On the Rise podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decisions, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the On the Rise podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.